Hello, Esky fans, and welcome to another Carl Hager Green and Gold Gridiron Show. I'm Corey Loranger.
And I'm Meg Morrison, and today we're doing our show from the annual Eskimo dinner, where we'll be talking to a bunch of former Eskimo greats. And Corey, I gotta say, you clean up quite nicely.
Thanks, Meg. You can't make fun of my man gloves this week.
Yeah, we like doing the show from inside.
Absolutely. You look great too, and
Thank
so does
you.
our show. And so we'll dive right into it because we have a lot coming up today. Our POV segment we've been bringing to you all year long, and we've been giving you a chance to be in practice with some of the players. Unfortunately, our camera has taken a bit of a beating, so this week we decided to give it a break and bring it to cheer team practice instead. Here it is.
My name's Sam, and I am a flyer with the Eskimo cheer team. We're mainly practicing a whole bunch of stunts, going over all the routines that we do throughout the week, making sure that we can do everything safely, and if there's people missing, we make sure that we're filling all those spots in, making sure everything is nice and perfect so that when we go out on the field, it's all ready to go. Especially learning new things, you're always just trying to remember what your coaches are telling you, making sure you're going through all the different steps and the critiques that they give you, really trying to focus on fixing what you did wrong in past times so that you do it perfectly the next time. And yeah, it is scary the first few times you try something new, but after a while you get comfortable with it, and the more comfortable you are, the more likely it's going to hit.
All right, I'm all suited up. Let's do this. I'm Mitchell. I'm a stunter with the Edmonton Eskimos. Basically, we lift the girls up. We learn how to flip them up in the air and catch them. Make sure that we teach the girls technique, and we're always keeping them safe. When you come in here, that's all that's on your mind, and just keeping the girls safe and learning new stunt techniques, and just trying new ideas and new stunts that we learn off the internet or through each other, or just brainstorm kind of thing. So we do a lot of rotational stunts where they're going to be flipping backwards or flipping forwards, but just where we release them and how we use the power through our legs and our arms at the same time. It's all kind of the same basic technique. When we're trying something new, we obviously have a few extra spotters, 4 guys pretty much on each corner there.
My name's Nick. I'm a tumbler stunter with the Edmonton Eskimos. The tumbler aspect is to do all the cool flips the crowds like to see. We just go over stuff that you'd see in games. We make sure that it's all perfect and nothing goes wrong. Make sure it's safe here so we can go to the field, perform before the crowd. When you're flipping around and everything like that, you have a higher chance of, if something goes wrong, to hurt yourself. So when you're learning things new in here, you want to make sure that everything's going perfectly. You can perform the skill perfectly before you take it to a different venue like Commonwealth Stadium.
I don't think I know any guy that I would trust to throw me up in the air and catch me, especially if it was Corey on the receiving end. But one man that our city has trusted for many, many years is the former mayor of Edmonton, and he's also, more importantly in this situation, former Edmonton defensive back, Mr. Bill Smith. Thank you so much for being here. And I first just want to touch on kind of the honor of being born and raised in Edmonton, being the mayor, and being Eskimo alumni.
Who would have thought? But, you know, it's great, and it's always an honor to be here and to be recognized at the dinner. It's great. I was mayor for 9 years, tremendous part of my life, and for the Eskimos for 8 years, and that was a tremendous part. You know, when the Eskimos, when I played, started in 1957, there was no baseball, Major League Baseball in Edmonton. There was only Montreal and Toronto hockey teams, so the CFL was big in those days. So I was in it at a good time. Not that it isn't today, but at that time, all the players were certainly recognized. And back then, we had the first high-speed rail to Calgary. We used to take the Dayliner on the train, but it wasn't high speed.
That is an awesome story, and I think you might be the best person to ask this. Why is it that so many ex-Eskimos end up in government? You have Getty, Lougheed, yourself, Kwong. What's the tie-in?
Well, there's no tie-in, but it's never happened in history, in the NFL, anywhere in sports,
Yeah.
where, and Peter Lougheed, of course, played for the very first Edmonton Eskimos. So there's Lougheed, myself, Getty, and Kwong, all held government positions. That's really highly unusual. So it says something for the Eskimos. Either they understand politics or football players.
That's really neat. Now, I have a bit of trivia for you. Which one of your former teammates has a granddaughter who is on the Eskimo cheer team? Do you know what that is?
Now I'm embarrassed, I don't.
Okay, well, I didn't expect you to. It's actually Rolly's granddaughter is on the cheer team, and we're going to talk to her next in Cheers.
Hi, I'm Sierra, and this is my 3rd year with the cheer team. I started dancing when I was like 4 years old, and it was like a class with like 3 or 4 different styles within it. So that's how I started to dance. Basically because my mother danced. It was one of those like force it upon the child. Then I ended up loving it and not being the person that's like, oh, I don't want to do it anymore. To be honest, like I've always wanted to be a cheerleader. Like when I was like 4 years old and I used to go to the football games, like I've gone to every football game since I was young. And I used to like go and watch cheerleaders then. And I guess that kind of made me want to try and be a cheerleader in high school and then try out for the team myself. So that's kind of how I got into the whole cheerleading background, and then the whole dancing thing just happened to tie in really well. Oh, I love it. Like I would keep doing it if I could. I know eventually I'll get too old to do it, but for now I'm enjoying my time. I think it's kind of nice when we do our promos. I like to see little children that look up to the cheer team, because it's kind of nice because I was once that child. So it's kind of nice to like have somebody get excited about it like I once did. So I like that. Like I don't know, it's kind of cool being like a little mini Edmonton celebrity because I am a cheerleader, so it's kind of cool. My grandfather is Rolly Miles. For the most part, I just remember going to my grandma and grandpa's house and like going for dinners. Like I was about 3 years old, and I just like one memory I remember is just like sitting on my grandfather's lap. I was like definitely like all about grandpa, more so than my grandma. Cool to know like how my grandfather is that big of a deal. Like he's done so much in the city, and I like to see that there's this field here, and I like that there's people who respect him enough to like make a mural for him. Like it's really cool. Like it's like I kind of get to know my grandfather based off of what is here. So I'm really happy to be a part of the organization now. Like it's cool to be a part of something that my grandfather once was, and then how my grandmother's still involved. It's just it's just fantastic, really. Like it's like I genuinely love the Eskimos. I've grown up watching them, I've had part of the family. Like it's just really cool.
The Carl Hager Green and Gold Gridiron Show will be back after this. Welcome back to the Carl Hager Green and Gold Gridiron Show. Just from seeing his face, you will recognize, seeing the smile, I should say. Everyone recognizes the smile. Henry Gizmo Williams, number 2 for your Edmonton Eskimos. And thanks so much for taking a few minutes to chat with us. Maybe take us through your new responsibilities with the team, because you're kind of back a little bit with the Eskimos.
I'm just out there being the clown guy, you know. Kay's brought me out there. I work a little bit with some of the punt return guys, but most of the time I just like being out there with the guys, having a great time, and I'm glad he gave me the opportunity because it brings back a lot of memories, you know, just being off and on the football field. And people ask me, some of the young guys I'd ask me, they said, Giz, what you miss more about playing football? I said, this right here, being around you guys, and I think that's something that I'm trying to bring back to the guys, a little bit of excitement.
Not only going to the stadium, but even being part of some of these events, I imagine, brings back a lot of memories. And you see a lot of old friends, right?
God,
I mean,
yeah.
What are some of the things that come back when you participate in these events?
Some of the things that we used to do to the guys on the road trip, or some of the things that happened in the locker room.
Is that clean for TV? Or
It's clean for TV. It's clean for TV. And sometimes, you know, just to see some of the guys and see how they're doing, because you're always thinking, how's this guy doing and how's the next guy doing? And then you get a chance to see some of the guys. It brings back, you know, good friendship, and probably catch up with some of the guys and get their phone numbers again and talk to them and see how everything's been going, you know, through their life.
I mean, I always really like reminiscing on some of these great moments that you guys had. You had some great teams that you played on.
Right.
Do you have a favorite moment as an Eskimo that comes to mind?
Not so many. I got a lot of favorite moments. One of the greatest moments that I like was I was able to run a touchdown back in 1987 and do it again in 1996, 10 years later. So that was one of my greatest moments, to do it again, to be so old to do it again. So I thought that was one of my greatest moments.
Gizmo, thanks so much for taking a moment to chat with us. Really appreciate it, and enjoy the night.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. And on the Carl Hager Green and Gold Gridiron Show, we've had Burke Dales be kind of our third co-host for the season. Unfortunately, he got injured and hasn't been playing the last few weeks, but we got a chance to catch up with him this week at the Carl Hager Lemon Brace to see how he's doing.
Hi, I'm Burke Dales. Today on Out of Bounds, we're going into Carl Hagar, who's going to put me together a customized orthotic so I can play football again.
All right, so it's 4.5 weeks ago it happened?
Yeah, roughly. So
Okay.
I guess it would have been, technically it would have been 4 weeks yesterday.
Okay.
I I was moving around after a bad snap with the football. Two different players from the opposing team, the Calgary Stampeders, both stepped on my foot. I was tackled down by 4 players. I kind of got kind of pulled and tugged, and my foot essentially stayed on the turf. And then re-aggravated it on the following punt, and then on my final punt, I just felt something snap. I actually thought that the sole of my shoe had snapped in the middle and was sticking up into my foot. And then when I had stepped down onto the foot, it felt like I was actually stepping on a golf ball. Yeah, so I guess there was a couple of small fractures and then some torn ligaments.
Basically what we're doing for Burke now, he's transitioning from a cast boot that he's had on for the past few weeks to protect the foot. So now we're looking at getting him back onto the playing field again. To do that, we're going to use an orthotic inside of his shoe to slow down some of the motion of his foot. So the type of injury he had in his midfoot, there's a lot of stress that goes through there with kicking, and that's what he's planting on. So we're basically just putting something in that's going to keep his foot or his arch from collapsing and slow down some of the rotation in his foot to protect it as it's still healing.
I never did. They just put one in recently, but I was pretty much playing on that for the last couple of years.
Okay.
But
I know much comfort in there.
No.
Basically, we're looking at what he's doing and what he's using it for, taking a look at some of his footwear as well, and we know the type of injury and what to expect from that too. So with the orthotic, again, it's just trying to prevent that midfoot from collapsing. We've chosen to go with a slightly softer material as well, just something that's going to be comfortable in the cleats. We already have a very stiff shoe that provides a lot of support, so don't want to slide something in that's going to be uncomfortable for him as well. We want him to feel the support, but not affect his ability to kick as well.
Would have got a pedicure if I knew you guys were doing some close-ups.
This is an amphit system, so basically these pins come up on the grid here, and that'll come up and contour the bottom of his foot, so really similar to taking a cast. And then we have a digital mold of the foot, so we can actually use a computer to create some adjustments and changes, and we don't have to use a cast. This system's a bit unique because it's not just a pressure pattern, it is actually taking that full contour, so the orthotic is fully custom made to Burke's foot, and it won't really fit anybody else but his foot.
The more support, the better. Right now, there's just a bit of a fear factor there for me in re-aggravating or re-tearing the ligaments. And that's kind of my biggest fear right now. But I know with the orthotic, it's going to really improve my chances to stay injury-free and finish off the season strong. Whether it's psychosomatic or whether it's, it's going to help me a tremendous amount. I'm very optimistic, and I know the guys here at Carl Hagar have been awesome. So, yeah, no, we're excited. I know the special teams coordinator is excited to get me back as well. So.
Good to know that Burke is getting close to a full recovery, and make sure you tune in next week when he attempts to make his own orthotic. Now, our next guest is also a kicker, and he's the Eskimo all-time points leader, Sean Fleming. Is that the record that you're most proud of?
Sure, yeah. I mean, that's...
Okay, then what would it be?
Well, I don't know. I haven't thought about records in a long time. Probably most field goals in a game in a Grey Cup. If I still have that, I'm not sure. I'm probably tied with that. But, yeah, there's a number of records, but, I mean, most points scored, it's longevity. That's really what it means. I played 16 seasons with the Eskimos, so eventually records would fall. But yeah, certainly that's one of them.
You almost seem like you're not impressed over that, but 16 seasons is very impressive.
Yeah, that's probably something I'm more proud of than individual points and things like that. But yeah, it was a great career I had with the Eskimos, and I'm proud that I stuck with one team in the CFL, and Edmonton's home now, so it's played a big part of my life.
Now, your focus is kind of strayed from football, and now you're heavily involved in triathlons. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's something I always thought about during my career on what I would do afterwards as far as athletics and challenging myself on an athletic level. And triathlons are what I would consider very similar to kicking. It's in some ways it's a solitary sport. You really compete against yourself, and kicking, same thing. It's just you out there, and it is an individual position in a team game. And yes, something I enjoy quite a bit.
What do you excel at? Is it the biking, swimming, or the running?
Well, definitely not the running, but I enjoy the swimming and the biking. The biking probably more so.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. And I got to ask you this. Have you ever had your own segment on a TV show? I know you hold a lot of records, but have you ever had your own segment?
Never have, no.
Okay, well, Burke Dales does. And right now, he's running around here like a chicken with his head cut off, looking for his next guest on today's Coffin Corner. Let's see who he found.
Gentlemen, please. You're back in the Coffin Corner with Birkdale's and an absolute legend, Ed Hervey. Ed, we're going to ask some questions, football related and off the field.
Yep.
We want to see the man, the myth, the legend behind the scenes.
Okay.
So your most memorable moment as an Edmonton Eskimo and why?
Winning the 2003 Grey Cup, because it was my first championship won as a pro, and because we had a gentleman in the locker room by the name of Leo Groenwagen who played another year just to win that. That, to me, I'll never forget, and it was one of the most memorable moments that I've had as an Eskimo.
Very heartfelt answer. Okay, if you were not a professional football player and you could choose any other profession in the world, what would it be and why?
Actually, I would have been a track athlete. I would have been a sprinter. I think I would have won a gold medal as a 200-meter runner. Back in my day, I could run, but I chose to go the football route because I enjoyed the team aspect and the locker room. But I could run in my day, so I think track and field would have been it.
03 and 05, both Grey Cup victories for you. You've got rings from both years. What was more memorable from I guess, an individual standpoint for you?
From 03, again, as I mentioned, it's the Leo Groenwagen, obviously hosting up the Grey Cup. And 05 was the fact that no one gave us an opportunity to win that championship. There was a lot of doubters, and we were able to pull through on the road, find some resolve within the group, and pull out that championship. I think just the mindset of that group was something that I always remember.
Ed, if there were a movie made of your life, who would play the lead star in the movie and why?
Probably Silk, because I hear that we look alike, so I would say him, you know.
Okay, nemesis. When you played a terrific career, a lot of years in the league.
Yep.
Who was your nemesis? Who was the guy that you would line up against that you hated him, he hated you, but there was that mutual respect there? Who was it and why?
David Sanchez. Yeah, David Sanchez was that guy, and our history goes back to goes back a long ways. And obviously in 03, the whole incident where the helmet incident and suspension and all that stuff that came with it when he was in Calgary. We're good friends now. We talk and stuff like that. But back then, as a player and as a competitor, hated his guts.
Yes.
Yeah, hated his guts.
Yeah, I knew about him. I didn't like him either. Okay, last segment, knock him out or buy him a beer. Knock him out or buy him a beer, Ed. Barry Bonds.
Buy him a beer.
Why?
He's the greatest baseball player I have ever seen.
The Carl Hager Green and Gold Gridiron Show will be back after this.
Welcome back to the Carl Hager Green and Gold Gridiron Show. A lot of great former Eskimos on our show today, and a lot of them have either been in the CFL Hall of Fame or will be. This gentleman here will be very, very soon, in actually a couple of weeks. Damon Allen, talk about how excited you are getting inducted into the CFL Hall of Fame.
I think you're always excited because you realize it's a dream that you actually don't really think about when you're growing up as a kid. All you want to do is think about is winning championships, and you have those kind of dreams, and so when you finally get the call from the commissioner, I was thinking that he wanted to do an event together, but he's saying that you're inducted to the Hall of Fame, and then pretty much I was speechless at the time because I think you just never prepare for anything like that, and the fact that it's only like 250 guys of all of football that have a chance to go into the Hall is really quite humbling too.
Talk about more in detail that phone call you got from the commissioner. Do you remember what he said to you, or did it just sort of pass over?
It kind of passed over because, like I said, when he first gave me the call, I mean, I've talked to him before on the phone about, meeting him at an event or so. And so my mindset automatically when I first got the call from him was, okay, I'm going to see you tomorrow at some event. And he says, no, I'm calling for that your name is up for the Hall of Fame induction. And so, at that time, you're still like, man, you're so thankful. Even though, people automatically assumed that I was going to be in, but still when you get that phone call, I mean, it really humbled me in a sense, and it just had me to think back that all the football players have ever played, I'm part of the 250 guys that are in the Hall right now.
You know, when it comes to mind, when we talk about great players, not only is it about the statistics on the field, but you've always been very involved in the community as well. And you're still involved with a program called Quarterback for Kids, something like that?
No, it's my program, the Damon Allen, I have academy, the Damon Allen Quarterback Academy, which the offshoot of the academy is also the High School Quarterback Challenge, and it's something that I'm going on my second year in Toronto with the challenge. And the challenge is all about high school kids learning how to compete against one another, but at the same time we're giving away educational scholarships to prepare them for school. And right now, I mean, we're just in talks and meetings with 2 more cities we want to launch next year. And so it is part of that give back, and you know, education is quite exciting, and to do a venue and put them on a stage where they can actually compete and understand, you know, among their own peers, I think it's a lot of fun too.
Well, congratulations for that, and congratulations once again for the induction in the Hall of Fame.
Well, it's great to be here, and I don't know how you got your name to the green and gold attached to it, but I'm glad to be a part of the 48th annual dinner also.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And we were just talking about fundamentals with the Quarterback Academy, and that's what Coach Kavis is going to take us through right now.
I'm Kavis Reed, head coach of the Edmonton Eskimos. Today we're going to discuss an offensive run play called the toss play. First and foremost, in all run plays, the offense always tries to look for a numerical advantage against the defense, meaning a +1 concept where we have blocker for each of the defender and the running back having no one to actually bring him down in terms of the tackle. Our offense decided to employ the bunch concept, which means creating a triangle of receivers and running backs that will allow for better protection. So if you notice here, we have 1, 2, 3 guys in a bunch formation or a triangle formation to compress the defense, and the toss play is looking to get the running back outside with a wall of guys sealing off of the defender, giving the running back a lane. And when we see the play develop, Jerome Messam is going to take the toss from Ricky Ray here, and when the toss happens, our offensive guys create a wall, or lanes as we will call it, to allow Jerome the option of staying outside, or if he feels that there's freedom inside, to turn it back inside. Jerome makes the decision to turn it back inside. Good decision, because all of the defenders pursue too far outside, with a clean lane to run with only the end zone to tackle him. We'll see more closely from the tight view the concept of building the wall. The biggest part of this scheme here that allows Jerome to be able to cut it back with our defender over pursuing. Once the defender, the last line of defense, number 34 to safety, over pursued, Jerome quickly makes the decision to cut back through a lane because the defender now can't redirect to make a tackle. Absolutely phenomenal decision, good vision, and a well-executed play called the toss play. And that's a basic lesson on the toss play for the offense.
There are many former Eskimo greats that are household names across our nation. However, there are very few CFLers that are household names in both Canada and the United States, and we're very lucky and privileged to be joined by a CFL Hall of Famer and an NFL Hall of Famer, Mr. Warren Moon. I know that you're broadcasting now for the Seahawks.
Yes.
What's it like to be back in the middle of all the green and gold?
I love coming back here. You know, this is a very special place to me. It was a place where my career started. I had some of the best years of my life in my career playing here, playing with these 6 years with these guys up here, the relationships that we were able to bond together with, the success that we had on the football field, and then just to be able to sit back and reflect on all those days after your playing days are over. You really didn't understand what you were doing and how special it was, what you were involved in, but now that you've been away from the game, you see that it was a very special time, and nobody's done it since.
Yeah, you bet. And it's the 100th Grey Cup celebration. And because of that, the Eskimos are celebrating all of their wins here at this dinner tonight. Can you talk about that 5-in-a-row team?
Just a great football team, a very close team on and off the field. You know, we did a lot of things together as a team, barbecues, dinners, things like that. Our wives and kids were all very close with one another. So that bond that we had, we took it not only off the field, but we took that on the field with us. And we just had a very great communication amongst one another. When it got a tough time in a football game, we just had a look that we could look at each other and know it was time to turn it up a notch. And we had a way of pulling out big football games. So what was great about the whole streak is that everywhere you went, you knew that everybody wanted to knock you off because you were the #1 team, and that's what I thought was so impressive about our football team. We rose to the occasion wherever we went, whatever city we went to. The crowd would be going crazy, the team would be fired up, but we somehow found a way to pull out those games.
How do you keep that momentum going when it's that intense, when everybody is out to get you, and you know that? How do you keep that up?
Well, I think the leadership we had on our team, first of all, it started with our coach, Hugh Campbell. He had a great calmness about him, first of all. He didn't get too high or too low when things got bad or good, and we could always look to him for that leadership. And then with our players, whether it was Dan Kepley or Bob Howells or Tom Wilkinson or all the other leaders that we had on our football team, when you have great leadership, you just don't panic.
And now the CFL and the NFL are very different beasts. What did you take with you from the CFL into the States?
I think the confidence that I gained up here, just the fact that I played in such a winning atmosphere, that I played a whole lot of football games. I played in pressurized situations. So when I went down there, none of that was foreign to me. None of it was new to me, and I could just, get used to my teammates, get used to the offense that I had to learn down there. But as far as the other parts of the game that a young quarterback would have to go through, I'd already been through that, and the winning is contagious. There's no question about it.
You bet. Well, Warren, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Okay, thanks for having me on. Great to be back.
And the Eskimos had a bit of a rough go on Friday against BC, but our cameras were on the sidelines once again to catch all of the action, including another circus catch by Kerry Koch.
You are champions. You want to be champions. You want to prove that you're champions. That's what motivates you. When criticism came, you said, I don't hear you. I'm a champion. When adversity struck, you said, move. I'm a champion. When people tried to divide you, you said, I will not be conquered because I'm a champion. We're not talking about the playoffs. We're not talking about hosting a Western final. We're not talking about anything except the heart of the champion. That's all we're going to talk about. And that's what we're about. Focus tonight, guys. Focus tonight. And just execute like the champions you are. Let's go play football. Let's go, baby.
Eskimo Nation, baby. It's game day.
Friday night, baby. Friday night, baby. What time is it? Hands up! What time is it? Hands up! What time is it? Hands up!
Third down.
That's what I do, man. Thanksgiving Day.
I'm just trying to get another catch of the year. Oh, I still don't know that I caught that thing. That does it for another episode on the Carl Hager Green and Gold Gridiron Show. Good job, Meg.
Good job, buddy.
Yeah, that was a fun episode. And tune in next week, Wednesday night, as always, 7 p.m. on Shaw TV Channel 10, or check us out online, esks.com or shawtv.ca. And make sure to visit all of our social media pages, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at The Gridiron Show.
Now, if last week's game was big, this week's game is even bigger as the Eskimos head to La Belle Province to hunt down some Alouettes. It's an early game, too, this Sunday at 11 a.m.
4 French words from Meg in this week's episode, if anyone's counting. Yeah, that was nice. Make sure to tune in for all the action on the Voice of the Eskimos 6:30 Ched, or check your Shaw HD listings. We should dress like this next week.
Oh no, I've got something better. The Carl Hager Green and Gold Gridiron Show is brought to you by Carl Hager Limb Brace, custom designed braces and foot orthotics manufactured in Edmonton.